Desde sus primeros pasos como emprendedora, Stephanie Carvajalino demostró su espíritu incansable. Vendiendo chocolates de puerta en puerta desde niña, sembró la semilla de su éxito futuro. Junto a sus hermanas, Stephanie fundó un grupo empresarial exitoso, logrando un éxito de ventas global que inspiró a muchos. Su experiencia en ventas la llevó a estudiar ventas profesionales y ahora comparte sus conocimientos para ayudar a otros a mejorar sus resultados. Como cofundadora de The Biz Nation, una plataforma de educación en línea, Stephanie llega a más de 200,000 usuarios en 9 países, transformando la educación y el espíritu emprendedor. Con BizFest, Stephanie y sus hermanas unen a 14,000 jóvenes para explorar el emprendimiento, liderazgo y tecnología, creando un impacto duradero en las generaciones futuras. Además, a través de Puro Power, Stephanie y su equipo apoyan a mujeres emprendedoras, empoderándolas para alcanzar sus sueños. Su excelencia no ha pasado desapercibida. Stephanie ha sido reconocida como campeona de ventas y ha recibido nominaciones para prestigiosos premios. Forbes la incluyó en su lista de 30 promesas empresariales. Llorente y Cuenca la destacó como una de las 10 jóvenes más destacadas de América Latina. Y el gobierno de Colombia la ha declarado Patrimonio Histórico y Cultural. Bienvenida, Stephanie Carvajalino.
Hey, Stephanie, thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you, Nod. Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. You know, I saw you perform on a big stage not long ago, and I was blown away by your level of enthusiasm. I believe a lot in the power of enthusiasm. So, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But I'd like to begin our conversation from a post I saw on social media, which I really liked. Which you said, if you're going to dream, exagera.
Yes.
So let's elaborate. Let's start there because that way of thinking, I don't know who instilled it upon you. Like, ¿quién te enseñó a pensar así?
Well, I will have to definitely give that to my dad since I was like 6 years old. We're 3 sisters, okay? So we're 1 year apart, and my dad has always been that person that is like, you can achieve whatever you want. Like, if you have a dream, if you have a goal, go for it. Like, you can do whatever you want. I think he did it especially because we were like 3 girls. We are from the coast in Colombia. So when we came here, we are from Latin America and all that. So he always was like super present saying, whatever you want to do, just go for it. And if you think you can do it, you're going to be able to do it and achieve it.
Very good. So I would assume that all the 3 of you have that positive mentality, that way of thinking? Okay.
100%.
Now, I always say that as human beings, we are very reactive. When something happens to us, we can't help ourselves but to react because we're emotional. And when I find people that think like you're thinking, I'm curious to see how you process crisis.
Well, I am very, I don't know, I have a mindset that my mom even sometimes, she's like, you cannot be that relaxed. And I'm like, yes, I can. Because I feel that people like get preocupado like before something happens and start like creating all these like hard situation and all these bad thoughts and like generating anxiety before anything happened. So I'm very of like asking to myself, like, can I solve this? If I can, then I'm going to do something about it. If I cannot do something about it, then I'm not going to be stressed because I cannot do something about it. Or for example, like when I'm in a situation that I can do something, but not right now, people are like, I don't know, they have like their life and then they have a problem and then they like put away like everything because they're stressed and thinking about that. I'm like, we're here right now in this podcast. There's nothing I can do, right? So I'm going to be here. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to be relaxed. And once I leave, then I'm going to get back to the situation and try to manage it. So I'm very like trying not to get stressed because I feel that when you get stressed, like our mind needs oxygen. You don't generate oxygen. You're not clear. You cannot think if you're stressed. So I try to not get like stressed beforehand.
That's very good. That's actually a very good answer. And like as you are, well, it's interesting for the people to also know. I typically would ask these questions towards the end, but today I'm going to kind of begin with that. Obviously, we'll put the handle and for people to follow you, but what are you working on right now that gets you enthusiastic?
Well, so we do. I always say that with my sisters, we're super passionate about education because going to your first question, I feel that what made our story different was the education that we received from our parents. Like at that point, it was something normal, but then we were like, oh, this is not this common, right? So that made a difference in our story. So right now we do a lot of social programs in Colombia and in Latin America where we provide education, like the same quality of education. Okay, let me go back. Sure. We have a company that it's called The Beast Nation, that it's an online learning platform. Okay. With that company, we educate other companies to upskill and reskill their employees, right? Yep. So then we create social programs for people who have no access to education, but they are gonna get educated with these same courses. Like, it's not like whatever education was left. No, like the same quality and relevant education that big corporations are getting trained with, we give that to vulnerable communities and we train them in skills that they can use to generate income. So I'm very, very passionate about that. That's one of like my favorite things to do ever, like transforming other people's life through education.
Okay. Now, obviously, every great idea and endeavor starts somewhere, sparked from an idea of a problem. When did you first saw that there was a major gap in a problem that you could go and solve?
So we have to go back like 20 years. I'm 26.
20 years, okay.
Yeah, so we have to go back like 20 years. I started selling chocolates door to door with my sisters in Colombia, right? So I was the sales executive. I was the one in charge of like hitting the quota every like other day, right? So after a year of going and knocking like the doors of our neighbors, one of our neighbors was like, I'm not buying anymore. And I was like, what? My business is not working if you don't buy. And he was like, I'm not buying anymore, but I want to invite you to my MBA class. So you come to talk to my students and tell about your story, because I see that you're like an actual business. You come every other day. You have like a name, a logo, and whatever. And I was like, I was the sales executive, right? So I was like, so if we go to this MBA class, are you going to buy chocolates? And he was like, of course, I'm going to buy 30. And I was like 7 years old. So I was not like really good at math, but I was like, I need to go like every door to sell 30 chocolates maybe, and he's buying 30, we're going to that class. Yeah. So then I got to my dad and I was like, hey, we're going to this MBA class. We have to give a presentation about our family business. And my dad was like, do you know what is an MBA? And I was like, no, but he's buying 30 chocolates, so we're going. So we went to this class. And at the beginning, when we got there, the professor was like, okay, so our guest speakers are Karen, Daniela, and Stephanie. And when we like got into the class, half of the class was like, oh my God, so cute, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't really think that we could add value, right? Yeah. And then the other half was like these MBA people that think that they know everything, and we're like, oh, why did I wake up early today to see like these little kids talking, right? And then we started talking about our family business, blah, blah, blah. And at the end, everyone started like approaching us, and like they were like very encouraged. They were like, but this is an actual business. Like, if you can do that, then I can do my projects and my research and my businesses and stuff. And we were like, wow, if we can change someone's perception, then we can change the world. And then we started giving like, well, after we spoke there, someone saw us and invited us to another place and another place and another place. And in those places, we started talking about our story, and we started to realize that it was not like common. Everyone was impressed. But that was our reality, like the normal scenario, right? So we were like, what? People don't have access to this like type of education? We have to do something about it. So I think that's when we saw like that aha moment of saying, we need to replicate what we got and be able to give it like to other people.
Wow, that's a pretty interesting story. But you were 7 years old.
I was 7 years old, I know, but I mean, this was like a whole process of like every time like we were like, people were just like so impressed. They were like, if this existed everywhere, but it was still like shocking, you know? Like, I feel that it's like those small aha moments that you just feel it. Like that day in that conference, like after the conference, I was like, wow, I can actually like transform someone's life.
That's very good. Now, when did you come to the States? And obviously you were already doing this in Colombia, right? And so how did you, when you came to the States, what did you look for to see how big of an opportunity it was here as well?
So my sister, Karen, she's the oldest one. We're only 1 year apart. Everyone thinks we're triplets, but we're 1 year apart. So Karen came here to study, to do like a 4-month English program when we were in college, like after she graduated, from school. And then when she was here, she met the guy from admissions in Kennesaw State University, and she got a scholarship. So she went to school in Kennesaw State in Georgia. Then Danny got the same scholarship, and I got the same scholarship. So we were here. And once we got here, we realized that when you come to the US, you just see like the world through another lens. Like It's just like you see like the whole world and like all these opportunities. And we were like, we can do everything we're doing like in Latin America, but like in steroids. So since then, well, we came to college, then we went back, and now we were like, there's a huge Hispanic community here that when you think about the US, you also think like it's super advanced, super like technological and stuff like that.
First world.
Yes. But then you go to the Hispanic community and it's like, oh wait, is this in the US? Like what's going on? Like all these people, they're not getting access to all these like first world and all this stuff. And I was like, what? And then we got like a new obsession of like, okay, let's help Hispanics here in the US to get all these opportunities that everybody else is seeing and getting, right?
Very cool. Now, what have you seen? In other words, you started with this idea, and over the months and years, I think like any business, you kind of get new ideas because you're taking certain actions. How much has the idea and the model deviated from the beginning to where you are now? I'm just curious.
So much. We started selling chocolates door to door, and now we're in the education world, right? So everyone always asks, what happened with the chocolates? We don't sell chocolates anymore.
Okay.
But then the Beast Nation, that is the platform, the education platform, first started as an entrepreneurship curriculum for schools. We were like, we're going to teach kids how to be entrepreneurs. So we started doing like a curriculum for schools. Today we have a curriculum, like our background is education. So we have a curriculum K-12, but then we were like, no, this is not, like getting into schools is very hard because they already have like something set. Like that, like the day of that event that I was saying, like everything changes, but schools and the system, it doesn't change. It's very hard. So the ones that we have been able to get to, it has been like a whole process. So we were like, okay, let's do not like a 12-year curriculum, but let's do like a 1-year curriculum. And then we were like, no, it cannot not only be entrepreneurship because not everyone is going to be an entrepreneur. But what about like these skills that are on demand that nobody, it's like teaching people about these skills. So then we were like, okay, we're going to teach about the skills. And then we were like, what is the best way to do it? Technology. So we got into technology, but none of us have a tech background. So we were like, okay, now we have to study about tech, how this works, and create a team. And then we used to do B2C, where you could go to our platform and buy a course. And then we were like, nope, this is not working. It is working, but we could do like more stuff if we go B2B, because most of our revenue was coming from B2B. But we were spending most of our marketing efforts in B2C. So we were like, let's spend that money here where money is coming from. So all that went through to be able to get to what we do today, that it's an online education platform to train all the teams from big to small corporations. Like we work from like super big corporations to like a 5-people company.
Yeah, it's great that you say that, because the whole point of Dimensional is to get into the mind of people that are out there doing it, right? And that let people know that sometimes that spark that you had, this idea, could look completely different 5-10 years from now, and that's obviously normal. It's it's going to happen. Obviously, to be able to still be doing this after so many years, because it's been a couple decades, right, when this really started, leadership is required. And I'm curious, especially if you're teaching like entrepreneurship, how would you best describe leadership? Like, what is leadership to you if you had to define it?
Oh my God, I think being a leader, it's like one of the hardest things ever. Because when you are an entrepreneur, you start a business, you have a goal, you know what you want, but to be able to grow, you need to create a team. Like you need to have a team to be able to scale. By yourself, you're gonna get somewhere, but like if you have a team, you're gonna get like somewhere like way bigger. And I just feel that communication, it's like key. Like if you are able to communicate your goal to your team and like have them in the same page, then if they buy into your idea, then they're going to do whatever they have to do in whatever departments they are to be able to all work together to achieve a goal. But I think like leadership, it's one of like the biggest things. And also like talking in like the corporate, like the business scenario leadership, because I also think like there's like in general leadership and then leadership within a company. Right now I'm talking like leadership within a company. And the second thing that I think it's like super, super important, it's in like working hand in hand with your team. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you have something in your mind, you say it and you think that people are going to do it because they're just like you. But the reality, it's like everyone has a different perception of life. Like I study something that it's called neuro-linguistic programming. And one of the biggest things that I love about NLP is that you learn that everyone reads a map from like different start points. So what you think it's like the reality, another person could like totally be like super certain that it's in another way based on their reality. So also like being like hand in hand with your team and like working with them and not just like let them like, this is what we have to do, find a way. I think that takes a little bit more at the beginning, that like training, but in the long term, it gets you better results.
Right. Let's go back to the teams, because obviously bringing the talent is key. How do you process recruiting a talent into your team today?
So remember that I say that we come from an education background.
Yep.
So in that process of giving the speaking engagements, we started learning about businesses because my dad is an entrepreneur, right? Like this crazy in a good way. Like we heredamos all that craziness. And then my mom is an educator. So we were like, let's learn more about like education. Like
I see now why, right?
I know,
you
right?
Have you have that, especially that mix.
That's where you come from.
Yeah.
So we were like, let's understand what's going on in people's mind. Like, how can we make education more effective? So we started learning about neuro-linguistic programming. We started learning about learning styles. We started learning about one of like the key pillars in our methodology. It's called the triune brain, that basically says that we all have one brain that is divided in 3 parts. Right part, that it's emotions, blah, blah, blah. The left part, that it's like all the logic, rational part. And then the central part that nobody talks about it, but was the first part of the brain of human and animals that was developed, that it's like the reaction, action, leadership, right? So we have a test, we have an assessment to understand who is our team, like who is in our team, what are their natural traits, what is their learning styles, what are they good at, but not because they study that, because most people study things that they don't like, right? Or they're not good at that, at those things. So we do this assessment to understand and do, like I call it like a radiography of like, who is my team? What are they naturally good at? What are their communication styles? And based on that, then either hire them for what they are applying or putting them into a department that will make more sense based on their strength, if that makes sense. Because a lot of people will get to your company and be like, I studied accounting and I'm applying for an accounting job. But then when you talk to them and you see their strength, they're like great in marketing per se. So we try to like also reroute them in where we see will make more sense.
Interesting. As I was listening to you, I couldn't help but to remember a mentor who I don't know. He's a mentor just because I follow him online. And he says there's no system that could measure the heart of a champion.
Love it.
Right? There's no system. And so that's why how do you determine? Obviously, there's got to be certain skills that need to coming in. You should possess. Start from the because it doesn't matter how much you want to cure somebody. You would be all passionate about it, but you don't know medicine. You're gonna hurt the person, right?
Yep.
But I was just saying that to see if that the emotional intelligence evaluation plays a role in you determining to bring somebody in, like certain values, not just the skill, but some of the values and how people prioritize things. Like, is it God? Is it family? Is it business? Or is it business, is family, and then God? Or God is nothing in the picture? And I don't know if you kind of go through certain values, so bringing somebody in your team, because it's so critical for your success.
I know. I was going to say that we do have like our core values. I was talking to someone like this week, and I was telling them like, I really like that in our company, you can really, really feel the values to the point that sometimes you're in a meeting and we're just like, Es que that is not, no tiene el ADN Beast Nation. We are like, I don't feel the Beast Nation, DNA. Like, because we have been working really, really hard. Even though we're all remote, we do work like a lot in maintaining like the culture, right? So we do have some values that are very important for us, like, like keep learning. Like you said, like, you cannot measure heart of a champion, but like, if for a person, it's very important to keep learning, like constantly, like developing new skills. That is very important for us, right? If for a person, it's very important to have, I call it like exceptional, like customer service, like caring about your clients more than just like doing your job, but like you're really passionate about like what we are doing. That is very important for us. So we have like different core values that I think we do take into account. But in those, I think the main one, it's like that learning desire and coachability also, like if you want to, because there's people that they don't want to. They're like, I'm great at doing this is what I'm going to bring to the company. But also, and this is good, it could be good or bad, but you have to make a decision, right? So we hired a lot of young people because we are young, and we have lost a lot of contracts just because we are young. And they have told that to our faces, like, oh, it was like a great proposal, but I just think you guys are too young. I don't know if you have what it get. I know. Especially because we're in the education world, so there's like a big ego in education of like, how much experience do you have, or like stuff like that. So based on that, we were like, we need to give opportunities to young people and try to take out that version of like, now people, when they talk about young people, it's like they don't care, they're lazy, they blah, 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 blah. Some of them do, but not all of us, right? So we hire a lot of young people, which means that there's a lot of coachability to be done, which means that it's going to take you a little bit longer than if you just hire people that know like what they have to do. So we try to have like a mix and match of seniority, but also like bringing new talent, like new, like we're like the first option for a lot of like our people.
Yeah. In wrapping up, because we could go on forever. I get so passionate about these things. What's the biggest challenge that you're facing right now, trying to go to the next stage? Because I know being a visionary and you're visualizing how your company should look like, and you have challenges. Would you mind to share what the biggest challenge you're having right now?
Yes, and funny enough, it's basically what we are talking about right now, talent. I think that a huge challenge for us today, it's like getting to that next stage or that next level. We require like new processes, new skills, new people. Like before, when you're like a small company, today we're around 70 people. But when you're 5, everyone does whatever they can, like just do it, like whatever, right? But when you start like growing, it's like, oh my God, now we have like bigger responsibilities. Now we need to have or bring more people that have like experience. Like I said at the beginning, when we started having like a lot of young people, it was okay because they were just doing like whatever. But when you bring like this young talent and you have to train them, but you also need to grow. But it's just like, it's like, I think talent, it's one of like the main things that everyone should be very like focused on today, especially for us.
Have you guys raised money for this project at all?
We haven't. We are 100% bootstrap. We have been like in 2 years. For 2 years, we have been in that conversation of like, yeah, let's raise money. We do like the deck. We do everything. We meet with investors, blah, blah, blah. And then we are like, no, you know what? We're not ready. Let's not do it yet. And then we are again like, okay, let's do it. We're going to raise these, da, 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 da. And they were like, I don't know if it should be like, if that's like the right decision. And you talk to a lot of people and they're like, yes, do it. You need to do it to scale. But then there's people like, if you have... This is another thing. In the startup world, everyone talks about like raising capital, scale, grow. But we come from a very bootstrap world from like our company is profitable, like since the very beginning, right? So we wanted to raise money to accomplish a lot of goals that we have done without raising money. So people are like, don't get there yet. So it's been like a 2-year conversation, literal.
Thank you for sharing all that. I would say maybe to really end it, because you have just been for 2 decades on the business and entrepreneurial space. I want to inspire one of the main reasons we started Dimensional is because entrepreneurship changed my life, and more than to impress anybody, is to inspire people, to say, hey, look, we live right now in such an amazing country, such a great country. I believe that entrepreneurship, because of all the problems we have, it's never been better for people to run towards the problems and create opportunity. And if anybody's sitting on the sidelines still believing that it's not that easy, I mean, I'm a big believer, right, that activity will always bring about the knowledge you need to go to the next step. So any words of wisdom for people who are thinking about being entrepreneurs, or even to those that are struggling, right? They know the struggle. And maybe to those that that have bought this idea that entrepreneurship is just traveling all over the place and it's, getting into a Lamborghini and getting out of a Lamborghini and going into this club, right? Anything for them?
Well, I will finish where we started with that video of like, if you have dreams, exageren. Like, people tend to be scared of like what other people are gonna think, or I think the hardest one is like, people don't dream big enough because they're very worried of not like disappointing themselves. But I always tell people, and I learned this in a very like random situation, not like in a super business world situation, but the important thing is the lesson. People are scared of like failing, right?
Yeah.
But I feel that you should be scared of missing out of a great opportunity because you were scared of failing. Like, if you try, you could fail or you could do something super big, but you're never gonna know unless you actually do it, right? So if you're like super doubting right now, like, should I do it? Should I not do it? It's like, just do it. Like, if you fail, it's fine. Like, you do like, okay, fine, yeah, and you keep going. So I would just tell people, like, dream big. Also, do it like the other way around. Like, people start dreaming and they start thinking, how am I gonna get there? Do it like the opposite. Just dream big, and then you find out how you're gonna get there. But if you start from I'm gonna get there, you're always gonna start getting like why it's not gonna work. But first, you're dreaming. You're not saying you're doing it. Just dream. It doesn't cost. Do it, and then you find a way.
Now, there's one thing between dreaming really big, and then believing. Mm-hmm. Right? Most people always say that they were able to pivot and excel once they broke limiting beliefs. Are you still struggling with some limiting beliefs, or maybe one that you can think of that you broke and it allowed you to go to the next level?
Yes, I think, and I think that's one that a lot of people have, especially once they come to the U.S. I was like, but I'm Hispanic. All these big corporations are gonna like rather work with like corporations from here, and like the accent, blah blah blah. Oh no, this one is really good. So I studied professional sales in college. Okay. I was the only Hispanic, Latina, anything different from American in my class, right? Everyone was like super American in Georgia, like as American as it gets, Southern, right? And and our class was like doing role plays of sales. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, never ever in my life. If I'm going there and then they see that I made a mistake or I say like a Spanish word, blah, 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 no, I'm not doing it. Then I had to do it, and I got obsessed. And my Spanglish was actually the best thing that happened to me, because they were all like, oh my God, that is so cool, ha ha ha. And I was like the different one, right? So what I thought it was really bad, like being the different was really bad, it was actually like my best asset I ended up like winning like the main competition. Awesome. So I was like, it's okay being different. Just like, you could either complain and be like, or in my case, I was like, first I was like, oh, I know. And then I was like, oh no, this is good. This is my main thing. I'm going to like leverage this Spanglish thing.
Awesome. Hey, give me 5 to that. I loved it. At least shake that right. Guys, I'm sure you got a lot of value from this first interview with Stephanie. We're going to put her handles so you can follow her, and make sure to share this with all the people you know who are big dreamers, soñadores exagerados, que conozcas, so that they can learn from other successful people. Thank you for the opportunity. We'll see you next time, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.